Welcome to St. Olaves and Newstead Homework 16. Dates. Based on the passage, why are arrowheads often found along riverbanks and creek beds? The possible answers are: A. Native Americans used to throw arrowheads into the water for good luck. B. Arrowheads were commonly lost or discarded while hunting near water sources. C. Archaeologists intentionally placed arrowheads near riverbanks for study purposes. Or D. Arrowheads were used as tools to dig near water sources, leading to their discovery. The correct answer is option B. Arrowheads were commonly lost or discarded while hunting near water sources. The passage explains that Native Americans frequently hunted in areas close to water, and it was common for arrowheads to be lost or accidentally dropped in these locations. Over long periods of time, these areas, like riverbanks and creek beds, became common places where these ancient tools could be found. Question 2 asks, according to the passage, what purpose does the flared tail of an arrowhead serve? The options given are: A. To indicate the age and origin of the arrowhead. B. To add decorative patterns to the arrowhead. C. To make it easier to attach the arrowhead to a shaft. Or D. To ensure a deadly tip for hunting purposes. The correct answer is option C. To make it easier to attach the arrowhead to a shaft. As you know, the flared tail was specifically designed to be strapped and secured onto straight wooden pieces such as spears or arrows, which allowed the arrowhead to be used as a weapon. Question 3. What does the passage suggest about the arrowhead's role in Native American societies? The possible answers are: A. Arrowheads were primarily used for artistic and decorative purposes. B. Arrowheads were used for hunting and warfare, serving as essential tools for survival. C. Arrowheads were not a significant part of Native American culture. Or D. Arrowheads were solely used for religious and ceremonial practices. The correct answer is option B. Arrowheads were used for hunting and warfare, serving as essential tools for survival. The passage highlights that arrowheads were very important in the day-to-day lives of Native Americans, helping them obtain food through hunting, and they were also used in conflicts. Question 4. The passage mentions that arrowheads are tiny pieces of history that fit in the palm of your hand. What does this statement imply about arrowheads? We have the following options. A. Arrowheads are easily lost or overlooked due to their small size. B. Arrowheads are too fragile to be considered valuable artifacts. C. Arrowheads represent only a small aspect of Native American history. Or D. Arrowheads have little historical significance compared to other artifacts. Summary. The correct answer is option A. Arrowheads are easily lost or overlooked due to their small size. The description of them being able to fit in the palm of your hand makes it very clear how small and portable arrowheads were. This also explains how they can easily be lost, yet they are still seen as valuable pieces of history. Question 5. Based on the passage, which of the following is not a reason why people hunt for arrowheads? The choices here are: A. Arrowheads serve as valuable artifacts and collector's items. B. Finding arrowheads can provide insight into Native American cultures and societies. C. Arrowheads are used as weapons for modern-day hunting. Or D. Arrowheads have historical and artistic value. The correct answer here is option C. Arrowheads are used as weapons for modern-day hunting. Although they were useful for hunting a long time ago, the passage clarifies that arrowheads are now mainly collected because of their historical, artistic, and cultural significance, not because they are still used as tools for hunting. Question 6. The passage suggests that arrowheads are more likely to be found in which of the following locations? Here are the options. A. Urban cities and industrial areas. B. Modern farmlands that use heavy machinery for tilling. C. Forested areas with limited human activities. Or D. Riverbanks and creek beds with natural water sources. The correct answer is option D. Riverbanks and creek beds with natural water sources. Again, we see that Native Americans would frequently hunt near places where water was readily available. These were locations where animals would gather and thus became prime locations to find ancient arrowheads. Question 7. What conclusion can be drawn about the relationship between arrowhead material and trade patterns? Your options here are: A. Arrowhead materials were not influenced by trade patterns and remained local. B. Arrowhead materials were consistent across different regions due to extensive trade. C. Arrowhead materials were used as a means of trade among Native American groups. Or D. Arrowhead materials were used exclusively for local hunting and not for trade. The correct answer is option C. Arrowhead materials were used as a means of trade among Native American groups. Archaeologists can examine the materials and learn about trade patterns, as the passage suggests. The presence of certain materials in different regions shows that arrowheads and their components were traded between different Native American groups. Question 8. Which of the following best describes the overall tone of the passage? The possible answers include A. Excited and enthusiastic about arrowheads as collectibles. B. Informative and objective, providing facts about arrowheads. C. Dismissive and critical of the significance of arrowheads. Or D. Reflective and sentimental about the historical importance of arrowheads. The correct answer here is option B. Informative and objective, providing facts about arrowheads. The passage focuses on giving information about arrowheads, their history, and their importance to Native Americans, all while remaining factual without showing any strong opinions or emotions. Question 9. The phrase eternal struggle between life and death in the last paragraph most likely refers to. The options here are A. The difficulty of hunting and surviving in the wilderness. B. The cycle of life and death represented by arrowheads as artifacts. C. The symbolic nature of arrowheads as both weapons and art. Or D. The ongoing battle between modern collectors and archaeologists. The correct answer is option A. The difficulty of hunting and surviving in the wilderness. This phrase is related to the time when arrowheads were first used, when it was essential for early humans to hunt in order to find food and survive. Question 10. What inference can be made about the importance of arrowheads in Native American cultures? The answer options are A. Arrowheads were primarily used for artistic expression and decoration. B. Arrowheads played a central role in religious and ceremonial practices. C. Arrowheads had little practical use and were mainly ornamental. Or D. Arrowheads were only used for hunting and not considered valuable artifacts. The correct answer is option B. Arrowheads played a central role in religious and ceremonial practices. Not only were arrowheads used for hunting, but they also had cultural and ceremonial value in Native American societies, which goes beyond just being a tool for survival. Question 11. On which day did the charity shop sell the most books? The correct answer is Thursday. Looking at our line graph, we can see that the line goes the highest on Thursday. That peak shows us that they sold more books that day than any other day. Question 12. On which day did the charity shop sell the least books? The answer to this one is Saturday. If we look at the line graph, we can see that the line is at its lowest point on Saturday, showing us that they sold the least amount of books on that day. Question 13. How many books were sold on Tuesday? The correct answer is 80. On the line graph, find Tuesday and trace your finger up to the line. Then, look to the left to see what number that lines up with, which is 80. That means they sold 80 books on Tuesday. Question 14. What was the population in 1980? The correct answer here is 760. If you look at the graph where it says 1980 and go up to where the line is, you will see that it lines up with 760. So the population in 1980 was 760 people. Question 15. In which year was the population 700? The answer is 1970. By looking at the graph, find the population of 700. Then trace your finger down to the year, and you will see that the population was 700 in 1970. Question 16. The population is expected to increase by 120 by 2020. Work out the expected population in 2020. The correct answer is 1,110. Now, we know that the population in 2010 is 990. The problem tells us that the population will increase by 120. So if we add 990 and 120, we get 1,110. That's the predicted population for 2020. Question 17. In an office, the total number of weekly hours worked is 135. Complete the bar chart by entering the number of hours worked by the cleaner. The correct answer is 30 hours. If we add up all the hours worked by the manager, admin, IT technician, and data entry, we get 105 hours. We know the total hours worked is 135. So if we take away 135 from 135, we get 30 hours, and that's the amount of hours the cleaner worked. Question 18. A survey was taken by 400 students. None of the above is 47 students. Complete the missing data. The correct answer here is 47 students. The question already tells us that none of the above is equal to 47 students, so there's nothing to calculate. Question 19. Which snack is the most popular? The answer is chocolate. If you look at the pie chart, the biggest piece represents chocolate. That means that chocolate is the most popular snack. Question 20. The table below shows some information about the number of different makes of car in a car park. Complete the table with the correct values. Here are the correct answers for the missing values. Ford, 15 cars, which makes an angle of 45 degrees. Nissan, 24 cars, which is an angle of 72 degrees. Vauxhall, 20 cars, which makes an angle of 60 degrees. Audi, 21 cars, which makes an angle of 63 degrees. Volkswagen, 40 cars, which makes an angle of 120 degrees. To get these angles, we need to take the number of cars for each make, divide that by the total amount of cars, and then multiply by 360 degrees, as there are 360 degrees in a circle. That's how we figure out the size of each section for the pie chart. So the question asks us to draw a pie chart to show the information that we have in the table, but look at that. The pie chart is already drawn for us. How convenient is that? Now let's think a bit about what a pie chart actually is, okay? Well, a pie chart is a way of showing information in the form of, you guessed it, a pie. Each slice of the pie, also called a sector, represents a different piece of our data. The size of each slice is related to the amount of information it represents. In this case, we're looking at car makes and the angle assigned to each in the pie chart. Each slice or section of the chart has been carefully calculated from the information we had from question 20. So the size of each section represents the number of cars of each make. The largest section of our pie chart represents Volkswagen. It has the biggest slice, or section, with a 120-degree angle. That means there are more Volkswagens than any other car make in our table. Then, the smallest slice is Ford, which only has a 45-degree angle. Therefore, there are fewer Fords than any other car make in the table. The pie chart correctly divides the circle into these given angles, and also each section is correctly labeled, so we can easily see which car make each section represents. And that is how we correctly visualize data in a pie chart. Section, which is all about verbal reasoning. So our next question is number 22. It asks, which letter is missing in the series? The series of letters we have is X, then a blank space, then J, then P, and finally V. The options for what goes in the blank space are A, G, B, K, C, D, or D, F. The correct answer here is C, which is the letter D. Now let me explain how we got there. To find the missing letter, we need to figure out what the pattern is in the series of letters we have. We have X, blank, J, P, V. So let's look at the letters in order and see if there's a pattern. If we look at the alphabet, we can see that J to P is moving 6 letters forward. And then P to V is also 6 letters forward. Since the pattern is adding 6 each time, we just need to go backward from J 6 letters to see what goes in the blank space. J is the 10th letter of the alphabet. If we go back 6 letters, that gets us to the letter D. So now let's confirm our pattern. We have D, J, P, V. Each step here moves 6 letters forward. D plus 6 is J, J plus 6 is P, and P plus 6 is V. So everything works out nicely, which means the missing letter is D, and that means the correct answer is C. This question asks, after rearranging the words given below into a meaningful sentence, what is the second letter of the second word? The words are, complete test the I to within required hour M1. And the options are M, E, O, or N. The correct answer is option A, which is the letter M. If we rearrange the words correctly, we get the sentence. I am required to complete the test within 1 hour. The second word in that sentence is am, and the second letter of am is M. Let's look at question 24. This question states, in a code language, cost, cent, and KEP are written respectively as 4,167, 6,987, and 3927. What will be the code for the word socket in that language? And the options are 934,672, 614,397, 249,387, or 497,638. The correct answer is option B, 614397. The coding pattern here assigns a unique number to each letter. So we need to find out what number each letter is assigned, and then translate the word socket using this coding pattern. S is 6, O is 1, C is 4, K is 3, E is 9, and T is 7. Therefore, socket becomes 614,397. Let's move on to question 25. This question asks us to find the odd one out. from the following options: August, December, March, or September? The correct answer is option D, September. All of the other months belong to either summer or winter seasons, while September marks the start of autumn, which is why it's the odd one out. Now, let's take a look at question 26. This question states, eye is related to optic in the same way as nose is related to. And the options are auditory, oculomotor, olfactory, or renal. The correct answer is option C, olfactory. The optic nerve is responsible for vision, and the olfactory system is responsible for the sense of smell. So the answer is olfactory, since it corresponds to the sense of smell. Let's move on to question 27. This question asks us to identify the correct number from the options to complete the sequence: 3, 4, 11, 30, 128. The options are 67, 58, 52, or 51. The correct answer is option A, 67. The pattern here follows multiplying the previous number by 3 and subtracting 1. So it goes like this: 3 times 2 minus 1 equals 4. 4 times 3 minus 1 equals 11. 11 times 3 minus 1 equals 30. 30 times 2 minus 1 equals 67. Therefore, the correct answer is 67. Let's take a look at question 28. This question gives us an analogy: cloud, rain, volcano. The options are eruption, lava, magma, or crater. The correct answer is option B, lava. Clouds produce rain in the same way that volcanoes produce lava. The relationship is one of cause and effect. Moving on to question 29. Here, we need to arrange the phrases given below in the correct order to make a meaningful sentence. P. To deteriorate farther. Q. The power deficit. R. In the years to come. SEA has hit record levels and expected T in the country. The options are QRPTS, QTSPR, QSTRP, or QSRPT. The correct answer here is option B, QTSPR. The correct sentence is, the power deficit in the country has hit record levels and is expected to deteriorate farther in the years to come. Let's look at question 30. This question presents an analogy: hand, twist, squint. The options are tongue, grab, eye, or muscle. The correct answer is option C, eye. A hand can twist in the same way that an eye can squint. The relationship describes an action performed by the body part. And finally, let's take a look at question 31. This question asks, the word nearest in meaning to miser is. The options are extravagant, spendthrift, pompous, or niggard. The correct answer here is option D, niggard. A miser is someone who is very stingy with money, and the closest synonym is niggard, which also means extremely frugal or tight-fisted. Okay, that concludes this.
So now I'm going to be going through the answers to the MBR section of this homework. So for question 32, as you can see, the shapes go from having two bold or thicker black lines to one. So 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So in this one, the answer box, there's going to be 1 only. So, and it's going to be a bold line. So the answer's got to be E, as you can see. Next question. The square goes from being this corner to this corner, this corner to this corner, this corner. So now it's going to be in this corner again. So we can rule out those two. Then if we look at the actual line inside the square, diagonal, vertical, diagonal, horizontal, diagonal. So it's going to be vertical again. So the answer is E. Next question. So here, the circle moves down and then back up. So it's here, then here, then here, then here, then at the bottom. So it's going to go back to being at the top. So it's either got to be B or E. The difference between B and E is the size. So it goes from being big, small, small, big, small. So it's also got to be small here. E is smaller than B, so the answer is E. As you can see, B is bigger. And it goes big, small, small. So the answer is E. Next question. this rectangle goes from being tilted, straight, tilted, straight, tilted. So here it's going to be straight. So we can rule out B and E. Then if we look at the actual shapes inside the rectangle, so it goes triangle, square, circle, triangle, square. So here it's got to be a circle again. So looking at the answers, it's got to be C. The reason it's not A, even though A also has a circle, is because, as you can see, all the first shapes have diagonal or lines inside them, they're striped, whereas A doesn't. So that's why the answer is C. Next question. As you can see, the squares go from being white to black, white, black, white. So here it's got to be black, so we can rule out A, D, and E. Then if we look at the actual shape on the inside of the square, it's sections of a circle. So here we've got 3/4 of a circle, and then when we move to this black square, we have half a circle. So we've gotten rid of 1/4. So because we know this box is also going to be black, we'll get rid of 1/4 here. So we're going to be left with 1/4 at the top like that. So that's why the answer is B, because we've got this quarter of a circle here. Next question. So the little shape on the inside the square goes from being striped to unstriped, striped, unstriped, striped. It's going to be unstriped here, so we can rule out B, C, and D. Then now we've got to decide the position of it. As you can see here, they're kind of going up diagonally, and then when we start again from the bottom, they're also going up again diagonally. So here it's going to be in the middle, sort of. So the answer is A, not E, because as you can see, E is kind of further up the square, whereas A is in the middle, which is where it's supposed to be. Next question. As you can see, these lines are moving closer together until they're touching here, and then they cross over, and then they're moving out again. So here they're going to be moving out a bit like that. So that's why we can rule out D and E, because they're pointing inwards when they should be pointing out like that. And not E, because they're not crossing over. They've already crossed over in this box here. So between A, B, and C, let's look at some other patterns inside the squares. So here, as you can see, these two lines, they're getting further apart, and then they start moving closer together again. So next in the series, it looks like the two lines are going to have merged into one, because they're going to be a lot close together, so they're going to end up touching. So that's why we can rule out C, because there should just be one line, because now they're touching. They've merged into one. And the answer to this is B, because in A, as you can see, the lines have moved so far apart, they're touching the edge of the square. Where here, they've just separated from crossing over. They're not going to be touching the edge of the square yet. They're still going to be in the middle, sort of here, like they are in B. So that's why the answer is B. Next question. As you can see, the second and fourth square have a full one colour rhombus. So box 6, I'm going to assume it's going to be like that as well. And because we've already got a grey one here and a black one here, I'm going to assume this one's going to be white. So the answer is going to be E. Got one coloured rhombus, not split into two, because the first, third, and fifth one are split into two, and the odd numbered ones are just one colour. And we've already got A and C in the actual series, so the next one's going to be white. Next question. Here we've got this rectangle. As you can see, the rectangle doesn't move position, it stays in the middle, so it's going to stay here. But this pentagon moves closer towards it, so now it's merging. So now as you can see, it's coming out the bottom of the rectangle. Here it's come out a lot more. So in this one, I'm going to assume you're going to be able to see the point of it more, like in E. And also, if you noticed, there goes from being black, no black dot, no black dot, black dot, no black dot. So in this one, there's going to be a black dot. So that's why it's definitely E. Next question. As you can see here, the circles move down from one square to the next. And then once they reach the bottom, they go back to the top. So if we go here, if we move this one down, the circle's going to be here. And we move this one down, the circle's going to be in the second position on that side. So let's rule out any options that don't look like that. So now it's between B and C. So the difference between B and C is where the black part of these shapes is, whether it's on the inside or on the outside. So it goes from being on the inside, outside, inside, outside, inside. So it's going to be on the outside here. So that's why the answer is C. And yeah, that's it.